And then came the moment that changed everything. A single piece of footage, a grainy clip from a nearby street camera. It showed Meenakshi walking towards that very Meenakshi was killed showed it wasn't a robbery, it was personal. And finally they had Ashok's own words, the ones he didn't realize would betray him. Under pressure, his mask cracked. His story changed. He started to stutter, to contradict himself, and then finally, he confessed. He had planned it for months. The Kumbh Mela was perfect, millions of people, no way to track a single individual, and enough chaos to cover up a disappearance. He had tried once before during a trip to Haridwar, but couldn't find a suitable location. This time he had been careful. He had booked a lodge where no IDs were needed. He had made sure no one would remember them. And in the morning, while Meenakshi was washing up, he had followed her into the bathroom. The first cut was deep. The second ended it. She hadn't even had time to scream. When asked if he had any regrets, Ashok was silent. His affair, the woman he had killed his wife for, had already abandoned him. He had destroyed his family, left his children motherless, and all for nothing. His sons never spoke to him again. Ashok Valmiki was sentenced to life in prison. But for his children, no punishment could undo what had been done. No holy water could wash away the blood he had spilled. The trial was swift. The evidence was overwhelming, and Ashok's confession sealed his fate. The judge showed no mercy. He was sentenced to life imprisonment, a fate he would spend every day regretting. In the courtroom, Ashwini and his brothers sat in silence, their faces expressionless. They had no tears left to shed. The man they once called their father had murdered the woman who had given them life. For what? For greed? For another woman? For an illusion of freedom that never came? After the verdict, Ashok was escorted out, his hands shackled. He tried to meet his son's eyes one last time, but they refused to look at him. In that moment, he realized he wasn't just losing his freedom. He had lost everything. Back home, the house felt emptier than ever. Meenakshi's absence was unbearable. Her laughter, her scoldings, her warmth, all gone. The walls still echoed with memories, but they felt like ghosts of a past that could never return. The brothers struggled to move forward, but how do you heal from a wound carved by your own blood? They immersed themselves in work, in responsibilities, and anything that kept them from thinking about it the night their lives changed forever. Ashwini took on the role of both mother and father for his younger siblings, determined to keep the family together. But no matter how much time passed, the pain never truly faded. Meanwhile, in prison, Ashok was just another murderer among many. The man who once controlled his home, who once believed he was untouchable, was now nothing more than a prisoner, reduced to routine and regret. The woman he had killed for had abandoned him the moment he was arrested. He had thrown away his entire life for nothing. And in the quiet darkness of his cell, when no one was watching, he finally allowed himself to feel the weight of what he had done. The cries of his sons, the face of his wife in her final moments. These were his new companions, haunting him every night. No punishment, no prison sentence could be worse than that. The media frenzy had died down after the case was closed, but for Ashwini and his family, the real battle had just begun. They were forced to navigate a life they never imagined, a life where their past hung over them like a dark cloud. They were marked. Wherever they went, people would whisper behind their backs, "The sons of a murderer." How could anyone forget that? Despite all the horrors they had endured, and they found strength in one another. Slowly, Ashwini began to rebuild his family's life, piece by painful piece. He sought therapy for himself and his younger siblings, helping them process the trauma that would haunt them for the rest of their lives. But the question remained, how do you move forward when the very foundation of your existence has been shattered by someone you trusted the most? Ashwini's answer came from an unlikely place. One evening after a long day at work, he sat down with his brothers and talked about Meenakshi. They shared stories about their mother, Her kindness, her love, her resilience. For the first time in years, the brothers laughed. The weight they carried seemed a little lighter in that moment. They realized that while Ashok may have taken their mother from them, he could steal her memory, her legacy, or the lesson she taught them. Meenakshi was not just a victim, she was a symbol of strength, of sacrifice, and of love that transcended the darkest moments. Ashwini started to reach out to other victims of domestic violence and families affected by similar tragedies. He joined support groups, worked with charities, and used his experience to help others heal. Through his pain, he found a way to turn tragedy into something meaningful. Meanwhile, Ashok languished in prison, surrounded by nothing but his own thoughts. The guilt ate away at him, but it was too late for redemption. His life was a testament to the destructive power of secrets, lies, and unchecked rage. What he had destroyed could never be rebuilt. His family was gone, his legacy tarnished, and all that remained was the cold reality of his choices. On the outside, Ashwini and his brothers continued to live their lives, scarred but not defeated. They had lost their mother, their father, and their innocence. But they had not lost each other. And that, in the end, was the greatest form of healing. The final chapter of this tragic story wasn't one of revenge or retribution. It was one of resilience and survival. Because in the face of the darkest betrayal, there is still a chance for light to break through. This story serves as a reminder that actions have consequences, and the wounds left by those we love can take a lifetime to heal. Trust can be shattered in an instant, but it is up to the surviving family to find a way to move forward, even when everything around them is falling apart. The darkness may come, but it is in the light of truth, love, and memory that healing can truly begin,